Hello everybody, you're tuned into Cragcore. This is just a short video for all of you regarding the latest of the virtue signalling. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos on this channel that are in the one man's opinion folder, playlist, whatever you want to call it, you will know that I have coined a phrase, fascistic virtuism, because ultimately what people do, or what people have been doing in the past couple of years or so with what's been going on, they've decided to use virtue signaling. Basically, they go out of their way to adopt the narrative in a way that is kind of obvious by, for instance, like the mask wearing and stuff. Even though there is a mountain of evidence out there to say that masks don't actually fucking do anything with regards to any of the shit that they were supposed to do. But, you know, whatever. It was a symbol of following the narrative, which is what what I'm saying here. So ultimately, what that did was it created a sense of virtuousness in the people that were doing it, you know, and you had this virtuous army then in the public set against those who were now seen, simply by not wearing a mask, as being non-virtuous. Now what this did is it created a level of shame in society which forced certain folks that didn't want to go along with the narrative and that didn't want to wear the masks, it forced them into doing it because they were now being publicly shamed because there was this sense of virtuism surrounding it. So therefore, by that very design, it takes away people's freedoms. It takes away their freedom to choose to do something or to not do something based on how they feel around it, simply because now they feel ashamed not to. Hence fascism, all right? Because it's taking away your fucking rights. It's taking away your freedom. So ultimately, fascistic virtuism. And it's happening again, isn't it? It's happening again with all of this Ukrainian war stuff. Now, there's an awful lot of shit surrounding all of this, if you look into it. Now, it goes back to a treaty that was made surrounding, East and West Germany with the Russians, with regards to the UN not encroaching further eastward. Or is it NATO? But anyway, I think it's the UN. But anyway, so all of the stuff with the Ukraine, since the Ukraine were trying to join the UN, and there was an apparent agreement by the Western world that was going to be the case. What that apparently did then is it forced Russia's hand, because given the fact that Russia were in control of the situation surrounding the unification of Germany back in the days when they knocked the Berlin Wall down, that's where the agreement came in. Russia they said it's fine, unify Germany, on the grounds that you don't bring the UN any closer to us. Now, this was agreed upon apparently, and the UN, in other words, the fucking New World Order, the fucking shitty boot of the New World Order, is breaking that treaty, which is forcing Russia's hand in all of this. So you would have to say then, considering the fact that these people know what was going to happen should they force Russia's hand, that they actually, simply by forcing Russia's hand, wanted the outcome that it was going to create, because they knew the outcome and what it was going to be. Russia was going to get involved and say, well, no, that's not fucking right, mate. Basically, that's just not cricket, sir. This isn't what we agreed upon. And this is what happened. So Russia's hand was forced here. So, you know, before sticking up flags and all of this kind of stuff and changing your profile picture on social media to having a little yellow and blue flag on it, maybe it's wise to actually understand the background of what's actually going on here. Because if you think about it, Russia, in this case, is actually trying to uphold a bargain that was made, a deal, you know, an agreement, a treaty that was made. They're fighting back against being attacked. Okay, so ultimately, the Western world, you know, America, England, all of these other countries, these nations, these allied nations now, they're actually at fault because they knew that there was an agreement in place and they decided to fucking go against it. So whose fault is it really? So, you know, when you back in the Ukraine, fair enough, back the innocent people. But let's not forget Libya, Syria, Afghanistan, all these other places where innocent people were needlessly fucking slaughtered. All right? But people seem to think it's okay to go into Afghanistan and slaughter them because anybody wearing a backpack's a terrorist, you know? Because, oh yeah, the Western world created a narrative after, you know, the 9/11 attacks, and, you know, now it's okay to kill a brown man with a beard holding a fucking rucksack. It's fucking wrong, is what it is. And again, the narrative has been pushed by the same media that lied to you about the other stuff that's been going on. Has now been proved to have been fucking medical misinformation by the people that were dishing it out. The media, the fucking governments. They were the ones fucking giving out medical misinformation and then calling everybody else out and censoring people for speaking against it, saying that they were giving out medical misinformation. On the grounds of medical misinformation, i.e. fucking disagreeing with what the governments were saying and what the media was saying, you were taken off social media. Fucking censored. And this is the same media now, the same machine. And as I said, the same shitty boot that is kicking you in your arse. And you're saying, thank you, governor. Now, I can see a lot of fucking, you know, a lot of flags going up everywhere. Again, it's the whole changing your Facebook profile. I mean, I'm not on Facebook anymore, but I'm still on Messenger. And I can see the little fucking circular things there with the little flag on there. Instagram, all of these things. Actually, physical flags in people's gardens. People changing their shop frontage. I even saw a fucking house that had been painted in the colours of the Ukrainian flag. A picture of it online. Now, again, by all means, support the innocent people that are needlessly being hurt. But remember, all of this is because a group of people decided to renege on a fucking agreement. This is political. And yet again, innocent people are suffering. But what they're doing in the meantime, through the process of all of this, they're actually forcing this fascistic virtuism into society again. I mean, it's twofold, isn't it? I mean, it's probably 3 or 4 pronged, whatever. But the obvious ones are, it creates division in society. So long as division is apparent within our society, then there is no unity against the actual problem at hand, which is this fucking bullshittery. And then it's also a diversion, isn't it? Because so long as everybody's focused on this, there is nobody, absolutely nobody is looking at any of the actual issues at hand. you know, the issues that need to be looked at right now, which is government corruption. And just as people were starting to look at government corruption with regards to the Boris Johnson parties, they gave you a few resignations, they gave you a few lifting of some of these regulations and rules that were put in place under the guise of a bunch of fucking lies, might I add. People were starting to realise that based on the government's actions themselves. And now all of a sudden there's no need to look at that because, you know, World War III is on the horizon and there's a nuclear threat. Oh, and let's not forget that people are hashtagging it World War III as well, all over the internet. Which makes you wonder, is it World War III? No, it's not. So why not remove? If you're going to fucking remove people's disagreement with a narrative, which actually served to be the right thing to do, given the evidence that's coming out now regarding all of that stuff, let's just say, then why don't you censor certain things like, you know, the obvious misinformation, which and fear-mongering tactics, which is naming something that it's not, because it's not World War III, is it? No, not yet, anyway, but it's not. Now, if anybody out there has seen, I think it's on Netflix, could be Amazon Prime, but I think it's Netflix, a documentary called The Dissident. Now, it's about this fucking Khashoggi guy who was, for all intent and purposes, murdered by the Saudi royal family, or so it seems. You know, you've got to look at it and say, well, that's what it looks like. Now, that's all by the by, fair enough, you know. Money will buy you anything, especially freedom, if you've got that much. And if you're doing that many deals with different nations, they'll let you off with anything. Because guess what? They hold the keys to all the oil riches and stuff like that. And God knows what else. With all that money, you can guarantee they've got their fingers in different pies, you know, secret technologies and all kinds of stuff. But anyway, let's not get into that. As part of that documentary, they show you that there are people that are employed. Now, it shows that this was employed by the Saudi royal family themselves. They employed hundreds of people, if not thousands, to sit in a room around the clock on the internet and set up hashtags and all of these kind of things and create memes and post them with these hashtags to manipulate the public mindset through creating like a little bubble of reality, right? By getting people to fucking think that this is what's going on through memes and stuff and hashtags, so they can manipulate public opinion towards that which has been going on, which in that case was fucking murder. But in this case, I mean, it's murder again. But it's also misdirection, isn't it? To get you to think that something is something that it's not. To serve a narrative. To get you to fucking think that this thing is so crazy again. To hype it up. To misdirect your attention away from the actual stuff that needs to be looked at. Isn't it funny that this seemed to happen at the end of an apparent pandemic, when all of this information, risk assessment stuff, is all supposed to be coming out, and the information's not good, guys? So again, it's obvious. If you can fucking lift the veil from before your eyes and see that the world's a stage, it's all so obvious. It's laughable at this point. So you would have thought, if there was a country that was hell-bent on war, that was actually hell-bent on domination, that they would have done it when the world was at its weakest. Now, this being said, when was the world at its weakest? Well, when it was locked down, The economy was knackered because nobody was going to work, nobody was spending any money hardly, except for on Amazon and what have you. But we've spoken about that in other videos. I think the last one that I uploaded. So if this person, let's just call him Putin, was so hell-bent on destroying and overthrowing, well, then you would have thought he'd have done it when he had the best opportunity for less resistance. But he didn't, did he? No. He only did it. Russia only got involved with the Ukraine when his hand was forced by the treaty that was made many, many years ago. What was it? 80 something, 87, 86, something like that. Was it even 88? I can't remember. Something, it was in the late 80s, mid to late 80s, when that was reneged upon. So, you know, and like I've said, they knew what the outcome was going to be, these people. So and then they've done it to, therefore, then create this problem, knowing that this problem was going to be the case should they do it. So again, you've got to be able to pull the wool from before your eyes here and see what's going on. It's all a bloody plan. Not to mention recently, you know, all of this Hunter Biden laptop stuff now coming out. That was promoted by mainstream media. Yes, the mainstream media, as being lies and bullshit. Around the time when his dad, Joe Biden, was in the presidential battle against Donald Trump, trying to get elected into being the president of America. Now, that would have cost him the election, surely, knowing that if it was admitted to that his son's got dodgy financial dealings with none other than Ukraine, you know, none other than Ukraine and various other countries, but also child porn and stuff like this, allegedly on the laptop. It's now being admitted to as being the truth. But it doesn't matter now because, you know, we're a year and a half after the election and Donald Trump's no longer in power. And, you know, Daddy Biden's in. So at this point, fuck it, they'll admit to it. They're not bothered. But let's just remember, they said, without a question of a doubt, that this was all fake news. If you spoke about it, it was fake news. It was fact-checked, remember? All of these fucking fact-checkers all over social media saying, no, this has been proven to be false. But now it's actually the truth. So my point is, when are people going to wake up, okay, which is a term far overused these days, but I'm going to have to fucking say it nonetheless. When are people going to wake up and accept that not only simply because the fucking fact checkers say it's false, is it false? Well, quite clearly that means nothing, because they said all that was false and it turns out that it wasn't false at all. Okay, if you say one word that is slightly out, if you're quoting one of these people and one word is wrong, perhaps you've missed an apostrophe, they've then got the ability to say that it's false because it's not been completely 100% identically fucking copied and pasted. I dare say they would go that far. But anyway, semantics. Ultimately, does it matter? You know, number one, just because the fact checkers say it doesn't mean to say that it's fucking right or wrong, does it? Obviously then at this point. Also, the fucking mainstream media. When are people going to fucking open their eyes and wake the fuck up and realise that just because the mainstream media says it, it doesn't make it so? At this point, surely that much is evident. So when are people going to wake up, man? That it's obvious the reason why they're censoring people is because they just don't want any fucking competition. They don't want a challenge, which goes exactly in line with what I've been saying for the last 2 years. The truth will stand up to a challenge. If you're in control, if you've got the power to shut down any challenge, well, then you can say what you want, can't you? It doesn't have to be the truth. And more to the point, it's more than likely not the truth if you're actually using that power to shut people down. Because it goes to show you that whatever it is you're saying obviously won't stand up to a challenge, hence the censorship. If your agenda is divide and conquer, well, then you will do absolutely everything that is being done over the last 2 years and beyond. It's easy to use the last 2 years as an example because we've all quite literally been observant to it. We've been fucking plugged into it. So anything that's gone on over the last 2 years, that's what you'd do if you were after fucking complete and utter total control. Alright? And on that note, I'm going to sign off here. This is Cragcore saying thank you for tuning in. I thoroughly appreciate you being here with me today. And until next time, I'm going to wish love and peace to all things everywhere. And of course, peace on earth. Signing off. Peace.